Welcome to the Stray Buffalo podcast. My name is Ray Delucci, and this is the first episode. Just to start out, you will hear that my voice is kind of broken. I have just gotten back from the Ravens-Bills game from Sunday, where the Bills have won the divisional round for the first time in quite a few years and are going to the AFC Championship game. So a lot of screaming, a lot of cheering. So my voice is ruined, but at the same time, I feel like I needed to record this podcast because in starting this podcast, I want to show that I am dedicated to the Bills and making Bills content. And this is one of those, showcases I'm going to talk about this week, the upcoming week, and a lot more in this episode. And all the while trying to make sure my voice doesn't sound too terrible. So that being said, this is the Stray Buffalo podcast. This is episode number 1 and a little bit about what this podcast will be about. So like I said, my name is Ray Delucci. I'm from Buffalo, New York, grew up in Niagara Falls, New York, and have lived in the Western New York area up until I was about 17, 18, and that's when I moved and went away to college. I currently reside outside of New York State, but I am still a massive Bills fan. Ever since I was a kid, I remember my first time watching the Bills. I was with my grandfather, and this was like in the early 2000s, and it was a Carolina Panthers game. We were in his room and just watching that game. I was like, this is really cool. Started watching the Bills, and then the rest is history. I used to, follow them and still do follow them, but follow them avidly, knowing every player, knowing every year what was going on with the roster and whatnot. Every year predicting we'd win the Super Bowl. This is our year. There's so many years where during the drought where I was like posting on Facebook. I have these big memories on Facebook of like 12, 13 years ago. It's our year. This is the Bills' year. We're going to do it this year. And then going like 7-9. I feel like we went 7-9 so many times during the playoff drought. But that being said, that's what this podcast is going to be focused on. Buffalo sports, mostly the Buffalo Bills, some Buffalo Sabres content. I do love the Sabres as well, but they obviously are, not doing so hot, but do want to show them some love. And then I do want to, with this page, do some, and with the podcast, do some sports card talk as well. I'm big into sports cards. Not going to be a big focus. We'll probably be at the end. So if you are interested in that, you can stick around. And if not, then obviously you can dip out. But that being said, this is something I'm excited about. The Stray Buffalo, the name, I'm no longer, like I said, I don't live in Buffalo. So kind of stray, kind of far away from the Bills, but still avidly supporting them. And yeah, I mean, the Buffalo Bills have been something that have just been such an importance of my life. Like, I know it's just football and I know it's just sports, but the Bills are extremely important to me. And this team, the fan base, what it means to the city, what it means to where I grew up and come from, and just the importance that team has to the city of Buffalo and the Western New York region. It's just so special. And it's so important for me to continue to root for them and honestly do this podcast. I've thought about it for a long time. I'm pretty busy in my regular day life, but starting to commit to something where I can talk about Buffalo Bills football in the season, in the off season. I'd love at some point, obviously talking about the Sabres as well, but at some point to talk to past players, current players. I know current players is a long shot away, and then there's just a lot of people in the Bills Mafia and the Buffalo sports community that I think would be really interesting to talk to. There's some really good content makers out there when it comes to Buffalo sports. But there's a niche and an avenue that I think exists that isn't there that I'd like to hear. So I want to go out and create that type of podcast and that type of sports page. So expect a lot of different takes, a lot of discussion, a lot of conversation, and just an overall assessment of the Bills' seasons and off seasons, and an overall assessment of what they're doing from one fan that misses Buffalo and misses the Buffalo Bills sports scene. And really enjoys this team. Like I said, my voice is really on edge right now after screaming. I mean, we made so much noise. I'll say that game was insane, and I'll get to that in a minute. But man, it was so beautiful. It was my first game I've gone to in 15 years. The last Bills game I went to was with my uncle back when I was in like the middle school or high school. So being able to go out and fly in and go to that, my first playoff game was really special and kind of the impetus to finally make this podcast. So a lot to go over in this podcast. A quick breakdown of the agenda before we get into it. So we will talk about the Bills versus Ravens recap. I will then talk about basically what I think the media is getting wrong about the Bills win. A big part of that being that they're not talking about the Bills enough. And the MVP discussion, a little bit about Mark Andrews, and then, of course, going on to the Kansas City Chiefs, who has been a thorn in the Buffalo Bills side for so long. And then at the end, a little overview of sports cards, some cool sports card rips I've had in the last few weeks. So that being said, that's going to be the episode. Thank you again for supporting, for family, friends, people I don't know, and everyone in between that is listening to the show, and very excited for what the future holds for the Stray Buffalo podcast. So here we go. All right, first topic for today is the Bills versus Ravens. What a game. What an experience. Like I said, it was my first playoff game, so being able to go there and experience that for the first time was really special to me. My first Buffalo Bills game was against, at the time, the San Diego Chargers. I had then gotten to go see the Bears, and then this was my third game. Going to games was, they're expensive, and then obviously living out of state, it's a challenge, a little bit of a challenge to get here and then get there and go to a game. When we left, we were in traffic for almost 2.5 hours. So it has been hard, and it's been a little bit of a challenge to get to games, but finally getting to go is so much fun. I just want to say that Highmark is one of the coolest spots you can go to for a sports event. The atmosphere, like pulling up and seeing all the tailgaters and all of the people, doing, their different, grilling, drinking, all of the activities that go on outside of the stadium before a game, all the cool scenes, obviously people jumping through tables, all of that. It's an atmosphere you can't really find anywhere else. I've been to a lot of different sports arenas and sports events, and there's nothing like the Bills Mafia at Highmark. And then going out and being able to, go to the fan store and see everyone in the fan store and getting to see all the festivities beforehand. It was a really cool experience. It was very cold, so I feel like there was not as much going on as maybe you would see in the fall, but it was nonetheless an awesome, incredible experience, and it was just so much fun. We ended up sitting up in the 300 sections, and we had a really good view of the entire field, and we were there really early. I went with my dad, my aunt, and my best friend, Dave, and to be able to go there and see the game was truly incredible. And the 300 sections are actually really nice because you really feel close to the game, and it was really nice to see everything. I was a little worried about being that high up that I wouldn't be able to see much, but you really are able to see everything going on. It was really a fun time. When we were up in the stands, being able to just like look down when everyone was there and see all the Bills fans going crazy was like one of my favorite parts. We were in a section where there was just a ton of people screaming and cheering and whatnot. Just, hugging each other when good plays happen, telling each other it'll be okay when bad things happen during the game. It was just such a cool moment. There were some Ravens fans that were talking crap below us, and it was just funny to see the look on their faces during the Mark Andrews drop, the Lamar fumble, the Lamar interception. All the disrespect that they've had over the last week for the Bills. And it's not all Ravens fans, but, that dude out of Baltimore saying the city of losers comment, like, I just was screaming the whole game, city of who? City of who? Like when we won, I was like, who are you guys talking about? Like that bulletin board material stuff that made it oh so great when the Bills won. But looking at the game itself, I was very nervous going into this game. I will not lie. And I didn't think the Bills were going to be as bad at stopping the run with Derrick Henry as they were in the beginning of the season. But I did still worry about him because he is Derrick Henry, and he has a historical precedent of being able to run against a Sean McDermott defense. Looking at the stats of the game, you would think that he had a pretty good day. 16 attempts, 84 yards. His longest was a 17-yard run. He was still pretty critical for them in scoring points, in moving the ball, and in getting the Baltimore Ravens back into the game. But it was very impressive to see in the beginning of the game how Sean McDermott coached and how he was able to stop the run, and how he was able to hold up Derrick Henry. Justice Hill is someone else that was really pivotal, I thought, in the run game. And I was very surprised that the Ravens didn't go back to the run game as much as they probably should have. He had 50 yards for 6 carries. He was doing really well. And so to see that was pretty. And then you look at the receiving, Likely had a few critical touchdowns. Bateman had a few critical catches and a touchdown. And their offense did really well. I mean, in terms of like statistics, they did pretty good. They had quite a bit more yards than us. Yeah, I mean, I just remember looking up at the scoreboard. I think it was like at the end of the first half, and I was like looking at the yards. I was like, yeah, it feels like we have more yards than them. And then I realized that I had reversed it. Like I was looking at the Baltimore Ravens yards and be like, okay, I feel good about this. We're outperforming. And I was like, wait, the Ravens actually have a ton more yards than we do. What is going on? The box score total net yards. Baltimore had 416. The Bills had 273. So that being said, it was very interesting to see the kind of day and the kind of outcome we had. Josh, he played a very smart and critically smart game in this game. He was very, very cerebral with his decision making, with how he went about protecting the football, how he went about moving it downfield. 16 for 22, 127 yards, and no interceptions, no touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, he had a very well managed game, but it wasn't like Superman Josh Allen. It wasn't like, I feel like the Broncos game, he had a couple of those key plays where he like just, threw that dime to Ty Johnson, or he broke away for a run. Like he didn't have any of those like extreme highlight reel plays, but his play was superb. And you could just tell that he had full command of the offense. He was fully comfortable, and he was just able to throw it out there and just be okay with what happened. On the flip side, you could tell the Ravens were not ready for the cold. Like being there in person to watch Lamar Jackson just mishandle that snap, it was crazy to see. And when that happened, I just remember seeing it slip out of his hands and him like struggling to like grab it and like, get composure. And I know after the game, he said that he was trying to make a play and trying to extend the play, but you could just tell that he was not ready to be playing on a frozen field. There's the commentary by John Harbaugh about how they were like practicing indoors and keeping it cold, but they weren't practicing outdoors because the field was frozen. That is going to live on as one of probably the dumbest decisions, to not be playing in a frozen condition when you have the opportunity, knowing you're going into Highmark Stadium, knowing you're going to Orchard Park and playing a team that is known for what they do in the cold. It truly is incredible to see that they did not prepare that way. And that Lamar Jackson interception, same thing. I think it just kind of sailed out of his hand. I don't think he had a firm grip on it. Because when he threw that, I just remember him watching him throw it. I remember him. I honestly, from like the angle, at first thought he was throwing it out of bounds, but then I saw Taylor Rapp come down with it, obviously. But I was like, why did he just sail it like that? And that Rapp obviously had it at the sideline and was able to intercept it. So watching it in person, the Ravens really were not ready to play in the cold weather. And then you obviously see Mark Andrews, like the Terrell Bernard punch out. It was a good punch. It wasn't like the most forceful punch you've ever seen, but it was enough to get the ball out, and it's because it's slick, it's slippery, and it's frozen. Or when he dropped the game-tying catch, like they just were not prepared for it. And I thought, honestly, like that first half was we punched them in the mouth. I remember feeling so good. I went in halftime. I went into the concession stand line. Was talking to some Ravens fans, and to be fair, a lot of them are respectful and whatnot. And it was fun. I used to actually live outside of Baltimore, so I knew some of them. I didn't know like some of them personally, but I know like how diehard the Ravens fans can be. And just talking with them, they were so deflated. But in the back of my mind, I was like, all right, don't Buffalo Bills, please don't Buffalo Bill yourself and give this game away. And I will say that I was so nervous about the second half when things were starting to go downhill. I knew, I kept in my back of my mind, I kept saying, we have Josh Allen, we'll be fine. But there was part of me that was getting nervous when we just came out flat and didn't have any answers against their defense. And I don't know that it was like that play with Josh Allen's screen to Dawson Knox. That was a check down by Josh. It was not the best decision. And the drive before that, it just wasn't much going on. It was concerning to see that. And I will say that Baltimore defense is a pretty good defense. They have some really good key players. So I was surprised at how efficiently we were moving the ball in the first half. So to kind of see things kind of slide back in the second half was concerning. And I will admit that I was nervous. And I just wanted to say that, like, for me, one of the highlights of the game, or one of like the unsung heroes, has to be Tyler Bass. Tyler Bass missed the kick last year to tie us in the divisional round, and I for sure thought he was gone. And I was one of those people that was like, this dude can't kick. Like, he's lost, like, he physically can kick, but whatever mentally he has, it's not working right now. Like, he's not able to execute under this pressure. And this year, he's proven me wrong and he's proven a lot of people wrong. And the fact that he nailed that 51-yarder in those conditions was pretty nuts. It was pretty insane to see that. And to see him hit all his extra points, and obviously that the second field goal he kicked in that condition, in the cold, with the game really on the line, not in a sense that if he kicked it, we win it. If you miss it, there's really no room for error anymore. He really excelled, and I thought that was really important. And the defense, Damar Hamlin, making the tackle that caused the fumble, leading the team in tackles yet again. He is such a force multiplier on the defense. I know he's undersized, and I know there was kind of a busted coverage. I think the pass to Likely, it was near the goal line. Probably he should have just kept going, but he is such a key part. Then having Milano, Bernard, and Johnson back was key. Like, I saw fans online all week being like, you all act like Matt Milano is like the Jesus of defensive football, and it's not going to matter. It does matter. Matt Milano is that good. Terrell Bernard is that good. Johnson is that good. So to act like they're not good is kind of insane, because they are such impactful players on our defense. They're able to spy the quarterback, stop the run, close down lanes, drop back into coverage. Like, there's so many different things they can do. So when it's like, when we don't have them, we felt their impact. And with them there, it just shows how important they are and how vital they are to the Bills' defensive success. So to say that they didn't matter is insane. You look at the game overall, I thought that this was a really clean win. And I'll get to this later on in the podcast, but there's a lot of people saying how the Bills were handed this game. The Bills were not handed this game. It's such recency bias to only look at the second half. When you look at the first half, the Bills punched the Ravens in the mouth. The Ravens came into Highmark and got punched in the mouth in the first half, and the Bills executed and played near perfect football. That trash holding call on Deion Dawkins stalled the drive where I feel like we would have went down and scored again. We were moving that well. And it's those dumb penalties that are always called on us. But hey, if you would have we also got away with one with Keon. But we dominated the game in the first half. And also the overreaction side of the Bills Mafia, we're also playing a Super Bowl winning coach in John Harbaugh. So he obviously went back, made adjustments, was able to get the defense into rhythm against the Bills offense, and was able to kind of contain us. We only scored 6 points in the second half. And I've seen a lot of people be like, if you do that to the Chiefs, you're not winning. The Ravens and the Chiefs are very different teams, and I would not see us only being able to score 6 points against the Ravens defense as cue that we're going to struggle against the Chiefs. Obviously, we have to play well, but they're just different schemes, different areas of focus, and it's just a different beast you're trying to fight. And I do think, and we'll get to the Chiefs later on, but I do feel good about that game. Could definitely be eating my words in a week's time, but I do think we're going to be doing well against the Chiefs. But final thoughts on the Bills and Ravens. Being with Bills Mafia, what a cool experience. Josh and the Bills finally getting past the divisional round. It's been, when we were starting to get close in the second half, I was like, please, just let us win this game. Let us get past the divisional round. Let us get to an AFC championship game. And the fact that we did it, the fact that Coach McDermott was able to lead them through his game plan, through his ability to orchestrate offense and defense, the fact that he was able to really position the team and set them up for success, I thought was really important and really just comforting to see going into the Chiefs week. And the fact that this juggernaut, so many people that I follow betted against the Bills, so many people, the fact that this juggernaut of a team with the supposed MVP, with 9 Pro Bowlers, with Derrick Henry, who is a massive, massive addition to any offense, the fact that we could contain them, we could beat them, and that we walked out of Highmark Stadium being undefeated on the year and going to the AFC Championship game should show you all you need to know about where this team's at and their mentality, their focus, their drive, and what they think about themselves. After the game, seeing Josh say that all year they've heard they're undersized, they're not going to win anything, that they're not going to be able to move the ball efficiently, or they're not going to be able to move the ball in the Ravens. All these talking heads talking about how the Bills will not be able to be efficient on offense, how it's an easy defensive scheme against them, how Derrick Henry's going to run all over them. People were betting the Ravens were just going to blow us out. No. And then you got Jerry Coleman, the city of losers comment. To Jerry Coleman, I hope you relish in the Ravens loss. The fact that you disrespect the Bills, the fact that you disrespect Buffalo, our city, they used it as bulletin board material. You poked the bear. You gave Josh and the team even more fire to go out and beat you. I don't understand that mindset. I don't understand why you would do that. But good job. You gave us more fuel. We won. Thank you so much, Jerry. So that being said, that's the Bills-Ravens. I just want to say for the first episode, I will be going into some stats. I will be going deep diving here and there. But for me, this one was just all vibes due to me being there. And I really just enjoyed the game and being able to just be there in person. One quick thing I want to point out is that I saw a lot of conversation about the lack of receiver production, especially with Keon and Amari. This wasn't a game where Josh was airing it out. And they obviously had a game plan of relying on the run, relying on Josh's legs in the red zone, and playing a very tight, kind of risk-free football game. And I wouldn't take that as the Bills' offense is not clicking in the playoffs, because there's some people I've seen online panicking. Okay, Keon and Amari didn't get any touches. We're not really moving the ball. I would think they're going to be more involved against this Chiefs defense. This game plan was made for the Ravens, and it ended up working. And, I know that the second half was kind of disappointing. Not disappointing, but they were coming back. It's the Ravens. They're a top 5 team in the league. They're going to get their points. They're going to figure things out. There's a reason why they're there in the divisional round with us. So the fact that we were able to go out there and execute on a game plan like that was actually very encouraging for me, because how many times in the past few years have we tried to rely on the run game to close out games and it hasn't worked? The ability for us to do that, especially that drive the punch-out drive where Mark Andrews fumbled the football, even though we couldn't get the touchdown to seal the game, the fact that we were able to move the ball down, knock off 4 or 5 minutes, and get a field goal, just get points on the board, and also waste some clock was crucial. And it was just so great to see. So that's my recap on this game, and would love to hear your thoughts. So here's what I think the media gets wrong about the Bills' divisional round win. And the biggest thing I think they get wrong is they don't talk about the Bills. And I am pretty frustrated about this at this point. There's a lot of people I like in the sports media world that I talk, I listen to frequently. And the biggest takeaway from the last few days, Monday and Tuesday, being that there was just not enough conversation about the Bills' win. The recurring conversation is about Baltimore. And it's going to be the same conversation with Lamar and the MVP later on. The Baltimore Ravens lost this game. The Bills beat them. Yet there is a narrative that somehow the Baltimore Ravens handed the Bills this win. That somehow they allowed the Bills this win almost. There's this weird narrative that the Bills didn't actually win it. The Ravens just gave them the win. They let them win, and that they didn't actually win it. Terrell Bernard didn't punch out the ball. Taylor Rapp didn't intercept the ball. Von Miller didn't scoop up the fumble. There's all these things that are oh, the Bills just kind of lucked into winning it. And it's not the case. There was a cohesive game plan to go after the Ravens defensively. There was a cohesive game plan, whether or not I agreed with all of it 100%, for the Bills to use offensively to, go ahead and have success against the Ravens' vaunted defense. So this idea that the Ravens just handed the Bills a win is really frustrating to hear. It's the same thing we hear all year about this team, that they're not that great. Josh said it in his postgame. All the talking that's gone on about this team and the lack of respect being showed. This team's going to the AFC Championship. The Ravens are not going to the AFC Championship. The Bills won the game. The Ravens did not give them the game. So this media narrative, the mind jumping jacks that you need to do to go and say, hey, the Ravens lost this game, the Bills didn't win it, is insane, especially if you watch the first half. And everyone's saying, oh, Derrick Henry had 86 yards rushing. He didn't get turned on until the second half. So for us to sit, and what's frustrating about this conversation is that before the game, everyone was saying how the Bills defensively could not stop the Ravens. The first half of the game was the Bills defense stopping the Ravens. We won this game because of defense. We did not win this game because of offense. There was some solid offensive play, and there was some solid work being done in the first half, but we only scored 6 points in the second half. We won this game because the defense showed up. Did they play a perfect game? By any means, no, they did not. But they played probably their best game regarding of when it mattered most. You think back to the last few years in the playoffs. What has been the liability besides the Bengals' loss? Defense. Defense not being able to get teams off the field. Defense not being able to get teams off the field on third down. The 13-second game, I don't need to rehash that for you. The defense was a concern. It's where all the talking heads in the media said we would be losers because of that we wouldn't win this game because our defense couldn't hold up and they came to play. So all of this attacking of our defensive core, all this attacking of the defense not being a good unit, and them in the game proving that wrong, showing up, coming to the game and stopping Derrick Henry, stopping Lamar Jackson, and then being told that, oh, it was just the Ravens gave them the win is insane. I know why they're doing it. They're doing it because they all said Lamar should be MVP, and now Lamar is sitting at home. Lamar's ready to go to Cancun while Josh is going out of the AFC Championship game. In no disrespect to Lamar, Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback. He is. He's very talented. It's unfortunate that in the playoffs, he's kind of hit this weird area where he hasn't really performed. I think back to the Josh Allen versus Bengals game, that how our team and Josh showed up in that game when we lost in the divisional round 2 years ago is how I feel like Lamar Jackson shows up to playoff games. This year against the Steelers, he was fairly good, but this year against us, he made 2 very critical mistakes, and that can't be overlooked. And so when we talk about, the fallout of this game and the media narratives, again, it's just insane for me to hear like all the talk is on the Ravens. No talk is about the Bills right now, or if there is, it's very little. And it's also like, we're prisoner of the moment. The Mark Andrews drop was definitely like a really big deal, and it was going to tie the game. But I had no doubt of Josh Allen's ability to march back down the field on a defense he's had pretty good success at all day and go get us into field goal range for a kicker who's been on point in the playoffs. I'm going to knock on wood when I say that, but who's been on point in the playoffs this year. The game wasn't over. There was still a minute and a half. There's still plenty of time for the Bills to drive down with the ball and get there. Was I comfortable with that? Hell no. I wanted the game to be done. But to act like the Bills did not win this game and that they kind of lucked into it because the Ravens lost this game is an insane narrative. It's been the narrative all year. It's been the narrative of the Bills all year. It's been what the media thinks of them. The media sees this team as not a contending team. And even when we're one of 2 left in the AFC, they still don't see this team as a contending team. And that's why this win was so amazing. Because all offseason, it was like, the Bills aren't going to be good. The Bills are not making the playoffs. They're going to be 3rd or 4th in the AFC East. And who's standing on top? Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Nothing's changed. I wanted to, we talk about the MVP of the NFL. Now, I'm not, I think Josh had a case last year for sure. This year, it blows my mind how Lamar is considered the favorite and how he got first All-Pro. And this is where the media is frustrating, the national media. The Bills aren't making the playoffs. The Bills aren't going to be good this year. What happened to where the Bills are now in the AFC Championship game? Josh Allen has played his cleanest season ever. He's played an extremely productive season, and he's been the key reason we are going to be going to the AFC Championship game. I love our team. I think there's a ton of amazing players on our team. This team would not be where it's at without Josh Allen. I don't know of any quarterback that would do more with this team than Josh Allen has. He has proven that he can be a leader and elevate people in ways beyond that we think they can play. Sean McDermott has shown that he can elevate defensive players that maybe aren't the highlight star players they would be elsewhere to play at an all-time, all-team, all-pro level. And just the continued disrespect of this team, going from Josh likely not winning MVP, and if he does, I'll be very happy, but I'd be surprised, especially because of all-pro voting, to Deion Dawkins being the only other Pro Bowl nominee. No James Cook, no Christian Benford, which is nuts. He's been statistically one of the best corners in the league this year. No all-pro assignments, first team. It makes no sense. The disrespect to the Bills continues. And, the season Josh has had, and I'll be honest, I had no idea how the season was going to play out. But I knew that because we had Josh Allen, we'd likely be in the playoffs contending. I never would have expected the season to go as well as it did. And I feel like because the Bills season was kind of set in stone so early in the year that the last month of like the MVP conversation got out of hand. Josh Allen went nuclear this year. The Chiefs game, the ending of the Chiefs game, the amount of different plays he's had throughout the year to keep the Bills competitive. Go back to the first game of the year against Arizona. We were down, and I was like, damn, is this going to be the year, our down year? And he willed us back in. All year, he has willed this team to win, to get to the next step, to get to the next level. The Broncos playoff game, this game. There's so many different times this year Josh has put the team on his back and moved us forward. And it's not saying that he's the only one who's done that. There's been key defensive players. There's been key offensive players. Look at Mac Hollins' performances. You look at James Cook. You look at where a Cooper has shown up, Keon's shown up, Shakir, obviously, the tight ends. And then you look at defense at Bernard, Milano, Benford, Hamlin, all these guys. Everyone's played as a team, played cohesive, but it all revolves around 17. So to say that he isn't the MVP, the most valuable player, not the statistically best player, not the flashiest, coolest player, the most valuable player to his team is Josh Allen. There's no one else. The most valuable player to the Buffalo Bills is Josh Allen. And his value to the Bills is more than any other player to their team. The only person I would say even comes close is Saquon. And that's just my take. You don't have to agree with it. But Josh is MVP. Honestly, I really want Lamar to win the MVP to just show how crazy the media is when it comes to Josh Allen. There's this narrative that the narratives around Josh are insane. He's never been awarded an MVP. He's never been awarded first team All-Pro. He has no accolades, yet he consistently plays at a level that is higher than mostly every other quarterback in the league. And for him to not have an MVP by now, for him to not have a first team All-Pro, I mean, seriously, what else does he have to? We know what he has to do. He has to beat the Chiefs. He has to get to the Super Bowl, and that's happening this year. So that's my thoughts on the MVP, and that's my thoughts on what the media is getting wrong. I do want to shout one thing out about the Ravens before I look a little bit to the future. The Mark Andrews drop. There are key moments in games where you lose a game. Mark Andrews' fumble and his drop are two of them. That being said, there's also the Lamar fumble and the Lamar interception. There's the lack of production on offense in the first half. There are all these things that lead to a loss or a win. Tyler Bass missing last year in the playoffs. That's on him. You need to make that kick. You need to make the kick. But the Diggs drop. Other key plays being missed. So yes, blame goes to Mark Andrews for that game. But it just, another example of the Bills Mafia showing support. The hate that Mark Andrews is getting is insane. And it truly is disgusting. Death threats. Scene comments. It's football. I know it means a lot. It means a ton to me. And to show you the Bills Mafia showing up, I read today that Bills fans have raised over $10,000 for Mark Andrews' charity after he received death threats. And it was for Mark's charity for juveniles with diabetes. $11,000 raised as of reading the post earlier today or reading the GoFundMe earlier today. So it just shows you, our fan base is amazing. We care. When I was at the Bills game, there were some cocky Ravens fans, and you don't come into Orchard Park and do that. But there were some great Ravens fans that I had conversations with, and it was all respect. I respect Lamar. They respect Josh. We know we got two studs at quarterback. It's unfortunate that one of them has to be out of the playoffs. It really is. And it's that I would be devastated if Mark Andrews, if the roles were reversed and we had that shot. But at the same time, it's the same thing with the Bass kick last year, at least for me personally. I was upset with Tyler Bass. I was also upset with Diggs not catching the ball. I was upset with bunch of different things. Letting Kelsey get his yards in. Like, there's a bunch of things. And just put the blame on someone and then take it a step further and threaten them and do whatever. Like, show that hate. It's insane. So shout out to Bills Mafia for once again being a classy group and coming behind and supporting someone. On to the Chiefs. Honestly, hey, I knew it was going to happen. You knew it was going to happen. We got to go in and slay the dragon. We got to beat them. I was so confident last year we would. I really was. And we were so close. But, and this is crazy, I saw a clip today of Andy Reid saying the Bills are likely going to be favorites. There's no sports book saying we're favorites that I'm aware of. So this weird narrative he's building is whatever. But you're the favorites. You're the Chiefs. Like, you guys are the favorites. So I'll just put that out there. The theme for this year has been that the Bills are disrespected and that they're underdogs. I think there was what was the quote today about an anonymous Bills player saying, like, let all the 9 Pro Bowlers who are voted in go play for the Pro Bowl now, because obviously they're not going to Super Bowl. But this team this year is truly just, they're disrespected. They're counted out. They're underdogs. They are just a group of guys who have come together, like Josh said, put their head down and worked hard. I know the Chiefs coming to Highmark last year was a big deal, and losing to them truly sucked. And I know that the idea of them coming back again would be ideal. It was great to have the Ravens in our house and beat them. I truly think us going to Kansas City is a positive. And this is just me coping for a reality where the Chiefs beat us once again. But this year, this team has thrived on being underdogs. They've thrived on being disrespected, counted out, told they're no good, told they're a city of losers, told that they're not talented. They've been snubbed in Pro Bowl voting, All-Pro voting, MVP talks. So let's just go prove it one more time. And what better way to get to the Super Bowl than to slay the dragon, to right the wrongs, and to beat the Chiefs and stop the three-peat? I feel good about this weekend. I was stressed about the Ravens all week. I couldn't wait to get to the game. We got to the game early, and I couldn't focus on the Eagles game. I couldn't focus on anything else. I was pacing in the stands, waiting for the game to start, because I was nervous about the Ravens. I'm not nervous about the Chiefs. We could lose, and it would suck. It really would. Do I think the season's a failure? No. Is it cope to say that we weren't supposed to make the playoffs and here we are? A little bit. But I feel like this has been a great year. It's one of the most fun years of football I've ever had. It's one of the most fun years as a fan I've ever had. In addition to see Josh fully develop as a leader this year and bring a group of guys together under a system by Joe Brady and McDermott, and to have likely our least, on paper, least talented roster before going into the season we'll probably ever have in the next era of Josh. I feel really good about this year, and I've loved it. It's going to suck if the Chiefs knock us out, but I really do feel this is our year to get to the Super Bowl. I can't say we're going to win it all yet. I don't want to put bad juju in the air and then have it come back to me, especially given our past. But I do think we go to Arrowhead and we beat the Chiefs. I think we match up with them very well. We've spent the last few years building our team to match them, and the ability to go in to a hostile environment and Josh to be the underdog, that's where he thrives. That's where this team seems to thrive. Being underdogs at home seemed to light a fire in the Buffalo Bills when they came out in the first half against the Ravens. And I truly think this weekend it's going to be the same exact thing. And I cannot wait for this game. There are some concerning injuries. Benford's in concussion protocol. On the onside kick, he took a hit to the head. I'm hoping that it's just minor and he's playing, because that would be a big loss. Taylor Rapp has a hip injury. He's day-to-day. Also would be a big loss, but I'm also sneaky confident in Cole Bishop. Milano exited the game with an injury. It doesn't seem like it's going to be too serious, so hopefully all good on that. I think it was a knee. Something with his knee. Terrell Bernard was injured a little bit in the game. It seems like that's just going to be like a sore point day-to-day, but he should be good to go. So there's some questions on defense, and it sucks, but I do feel blessed that we kind of got this far without too many major defensive injuries. We need all those guys. We really do. I know the Chiefs are like not as they don't have Tyreek Hill, but they have Xavier Worthy. They have Travis Kelce. They have Hollywood Brown. They have people on their roster that they can go to. They have Pacheco. And so while we have some defensive concerns, I still feel good because we have Josh. And Josh knows his team. And we're 4-4 against him. And while there's a part of me in my stomach that's like it's going to be hard to beat them twice, there's also a part of me that says we need to get the win once in the playoffs. We need to. We just need to do it. And honestly, I know the Super Bowl is the most important goal, and I'm not, and this is me speculating. I'd speculate this is the most important game for Josh Allen. Getting this win would probably mean the most to him because this is the team he has not been able to beat in the playoffs. And I guess you could say the Bengals beat us, but they're not even in the playoffs, and they're the Bengals. But we need to beat the Chiefs. We need to go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. It needs to be done. I'm tired of seeing them in the Super Bowl. I'm tired of seeing them just get, and I know the refs watching them with the Texans Sunday, those calls were insane. And that's one thing I want to rant on real quick. Whenever the conversation comes up about Mahomes sliding or flopping, they always bring up Josh. Josh doesn't do that. Josh looks for calls and tries to get calls. But that dude runs through people. He runs out of bounds. Josh doesn't run to the sideline and just pause, waiting for a hit so that he can get a penalty. Josh doesn't just scamper behind people and then try to shift and then slide late to get calls. No, he's barreling through people. He's jumping over people. So I'm tired of when the conversation comes up, is Mahomes flopping or utilizing, he utilizes it to another level. The protection of the quarterback. He fully utilizes going out of bounds slowly and causing trickery and fake going out of bounds and then coming back in and going up the field for more yards. So I'm so tired of hearing that. We need to beat the Chiefs. We are going to beat the Chiefs. I feel very confident in that. And of course, I could be wrong any given Sunday. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But this is it. Josh, the rest of the team, they need to go in Arrowhead and take care of business. And if at Sunday night we're going to the Super Bowl, it will be, I dream of that. I dream of that feeling. I dream of Sunday night thinking about we're going to the Super Bowl. I've never seen this team go to the Super Bowl. The first 17 years of me watching the Bills, they didn't even make the playoffs. The fact that we're this close again, that we're back in an AFC championship game with the chance to go to the Super Bowl. I remember when I was at the game this week, when the Ravens were starting to come back and we were stopping them, all I kept saying is it's our turn. I just kept saying, you had your chance, it's our turn. It is our turn this year. It's the Bills' turn. We deserve it. We as a fan base, they as a team, us as a city. And I know I'm the stray Buffalo. I'm not there. I'm there in spirit. The Buffalo Bills deserve this. And I am so pumped for Sunday. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. I love the setup. I love that we're going there. Let's go into hostile territory. Let's go take care of business. Let's shut the Chiefs up. Let's put it all away, and let's go to the Super Bowl. So that's how I feel about the Chiefs. That's how I feel about this week. Andy Reid's crazy for saying they're underdogs at home. Whatever he needs to say to get in, I guess. But go Bills. So as I build this podcast out, I'm going to be having different segments. Ray's Sports Card Rips is going to be one of them. If you're not interested in sports cards, feel free, you don't have to stick around. It's going to be short, but I love opening sports card packs for football, and I love hockey, and I love going ahead and, showing them off or talking about them or whatnot. And so I've been really focused on retail sports cards packs, so sports cards you can buy at Target or Walmart. And I pulled two really cool cards that I currently have on eBay that I'm looking to move, and I really just wanted to share them real quick. So 2 weeks ago, I opened a box of 2024 NFL Panini Prism, and I got this Caleb Williams Orange Disco Prism rookie card. Sorry, my voice is still lost from the game. So very cool, Caleb Williams rookie card. Not sure what it's going to sell for. Probably over 100, but a cool card and one to keep, and one to see how it's going to improve on eBay. But this one was pretty cool. So I secretly think the Commanders are going to make the Super Bowl. It wouldn't be surprising if the Eagles did, of course. But there's something about the Commanders this year. And of course, that's led by Jaden Daniels. And I opened a pack of 2024 Panini Mosaic NFL cards last week. I pulled this really awesome Jaden Daniels Silver Prism Money case hit card. Not sure what the value is. I think the last one sold for like $350 on eBay. Insane. I was really excited to open this. I saw the Silver Prism. I saw Daniels, and I was like, all right, cool. And then I realized it was a case hit. I'm not sure if it's a new variation this year, the money card, but nonetheless, very cool. Got into sports cards during COVID. Have enjoyed it ever since. And if you're wondering, I do have some Bill sports cards, and maybe one day I'll do a podcast about them. Nothing too crazy of value. I've got some cool one-of-ones or like very short printed cards. I only have one Josh Allen rookie card, and I'm looking at my puppy Lily, my dog, when I say this. My one Josh Allen rookie card, it's the rated rookie, Don Russ, rated rookie. When I moved to Maryland in 2021 for a job opportunity, it fell out of a box, and Lily picked it up and bit it. So there are 2 little teeth marks in the card, which effectively renders it from a Gem Mint 10 down to, I don't even know, a 6 or a 5 rating. And it is no longer, worth much. But it is a sentimental card from my dog. Obviously, it's a Josh Allen rookie card. He's my favorite quarterback. Yeah, so as I grow this podcast and page, I'd like to do some live openings. I'd like to do some reveals, and just kind of, sports cards are a hobby of mine, and I'd like to enter them into this media ecosystem that I'm building around Buffalo sports. So just thought I'd share that. And that was a Raise Rips section. Well, there's the first episode of The Stray Buffalo. Thank you, everyone that has joined and has listened along. I will say that I am very excited for this. I love the Bills. If you know me, you know how crazy I am about the Bills. So I'm very excited for this. I will talk Sabres once in a while. Honestly, the season has been very disappointing, and I'm sure I'll do an episode at some point on that, but today is not that day. And yeah, I'm going to be working out the recording cadence. I'd like to have another episode up before the Chiefs game. We'll see if that happens, but just stick along, subscribe on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and just be sure to follow along. Also, follow me on Instagram at The Stray Buffalo, and I'm on Threads, I'm on X, Blue Sky, all that, so feel free to follow along. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next The Stray Buffalo podcast.